That castle is not made up. It is real. It is in Bavaria, and the man who built it was declared insane, removed from his throne. His government called him a madman. His country took everything from him. And then, 6 weeks after his death, they opened his castle to the public and started charging admission. Today, that castle earns Bavaria millions every year. The man they destroyed is on postcards, coffee mugs, and t-shirts in every tourist shop from Munich to Vossen. And somewhere in California, a company worth $170 billion built its entire visual identity around his living room. If you like interesting stories about Germany, subscribe for more insider knowledge, because we are Germans, and we explain what the rest of the world gets wrong about our country. In 1864, an 18-year-old became King of Bavaria. He did not want the job. Ludwig II was shy, obsessive, and far more interested in opera than in politics. While other European rulers were negotiating borders and building armies, Ludwig was writing letters to Richard Wagner, the most controversial composer in Europe, and spending entire nights alone in the mountains on horseback. He called himself the Moon King. He held dinners for one. He had a table built that could be lowered through the floor so that servants could set it without him having to see another human being. 2 years into his reign, Prussia crushed Bavaria in a war that lasted weeks. From that point on, Ludwig was king in name only. Berlin made the real decisions. Bavaria's foreign policy, its military, its future, all controlled by someone else. Ludwig still had a title. He just did not have a country anymore. Most kings in that situation would have adapted, played the political game, smiled at dinners, and signed what they were told to sign. Ludwig did something else. He started building. Neuschwanstein was not built to impress anyone. That is the part most people get wrong. Ludwig did not want visitors. He did not want tourists. He did not even want his own government to see it. He built it for himself, a private fantasy on a cliff, hidden in the Alps, filled with scenes from Wagner's operas, painted across every wall. He wanted a throne room designed as a hall of the Holy Grail. He wanted a cave built inside the castle, an actual artificial cave with a waterfall and colored lighting. He wanted over 200 rooms, each one more elaborate than the last. He installed central heating, running water, and an electric bell system for his servants, technologies that most palaces in Europe would not see for another decade. The man they later called insane was the most technologically progressive builder in Bavaria. And he paid for all of it out of his own pocket, not the state budget, his personal fortune. When that ran out, he borrowed. When the banks stopped lending, he borrowed more. 14 million marks in debt, at a time when that was an almost incomprehensible number. He moved in before it was finished. He lived there for 172 days. 15 rooms were completed out of more than 200, and then they came for him. Ludwig's ministers had a problem. The king was millions in debt. Foreign banks were threatening to seize royal property, and Ludwig refused to govern. He had not held a cabinet meeting in years. He lived alone in his castles, slept during the day, rode through the mountains at night, and communicated with his staff through notes slipped under doors. So they did what governments do when a king becomes inconvenient. They declared him insane. A panel of psychiatrists diagnosed Ludwig without ever examining him. Not one of them spoke to him. Not one of them entered the same room as him. They based their diagnosis on testimony from servants and political opponents, people who had every reason to want him gone. On June 10, 1886, Ludwig was removed from his throne. They took him from Neuschwanstein and brought him to a small castle on the shore of Lake Starnberg, south of Munich. 3 days later, on the evening of June 13th, Ludwig went for a walk along the lake with his psychiatrist. Neither of them came back. Both bodies were found floating in waist-deep water. Ludwig was 40 years old. What happened at that lake has never been explained. 6 weeks after Ludwig's death, the government opened Neuschwanstein to the public. The castle that bankrupted its king became a tourist attraction before the paint was dry. The same people who called him a madman started selling tickets to see his madness. Today, over 1.3 million people visit Neuschwanstein every year. It is the most visited castle in Europe. The revenue it generates has paid back Ludwig's debt hundreds of times over. The villages around it exist economically because of a building their government once called proof of insanity. And then there is Disney. In 1935, Walt Disney and his wife toured Europe and visited Bavaria. He saw Neuschwanstein. 20 years later, he opened Disneyland in California with a castle at its center that looked unmistakably familiar. Sleeping Beauty Castle. The logo, a silhouette of Ludwig's fairy tale castle, became one of the most recognized brand image on the planet. A shy Bavarian king who hated people and wanted to be left alone accidentally designed the most famous castle in the history of entertainment. And he never knew. In Bavaria, Ludwig is not a footnote in a history book. He is everywhere. His face is on beer glasses in tourist shops. His castles are on postcards in every train station. There is a musical about him. There is a festival about him. Every year, on the anniversary of his death, people gather at Lake Starnberg and place crosses in the water where his body was found. We called him the Märchenkönig, the fairy tale king. It started as mockery. Now it is said with something closer to pride. Because here is what we do not like to admit. Ludwig was right. Not about the spending, not about the politics, but about the idea that something beautiful is worth building even if nobody understands it yet. His government saw a castle and called it insanity. The rest of the world saw the same castle and called it magic. Bavaria removed him. Bavaria buried him. And Bavaria has been living off his dream ever since.